Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars, and we're in the workshop today, and we're going to be looking closely at these Baroque fret files. Now, if you guys followed me this last summer, I uploaded a video on the fastest way to crown and polish frets, and an essential tool for that system was this Baroque fret file, which a lot of you guys picked up right away when I uploaded that video, and you guys were very happy with it, as I was. Now, some of you who have bought it more recently, you noticed that the design actually changed, and so I don't know why they changed the design, but some of you guys think that it might not be as good, so I got one to try out. So we're gonna compare them side by side. I'm gonna let you know if the new one is as good or better or worse than the old one. So I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started. So a cool sort of backstory about these Baroque fret files. The Amazon seller that had originally reached out to me to see if I would be interested in trying out one of these things, ended up contacting me because they heard your guys' feedback, okay? Once the design got changed, they started getting some negative reviews on Amazon, and some of you guys contacted the seller directly to say, hey, I bought this fret file because Dan from Guns and Guitars told me it was good, and the one that I got is not the same as his. So they actually reached out to me and said, hey, some people aren't liking this new design. Would you be willing to try out the new design and give us some helpful critiques and criticism so that we can make the design better? So I think that's pretty awesome. They were willing to reach out to me about that. So as I looked closely at this, there's some things that are definitely better about this new version as opposed to the old version, but there are some things that are definitely worse. And so I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a close-up of what's going on here. And just so you guys know, some people accused me of getting a special one that they sent me that was better than the ones that they have in stock on Amazon. That's not true. Whenever an Amazon seller reaches out to me to try some of their gear, the gear always ships from Amazon, okay? The stock is held by Amazon, so anytime it says fulfilled by Amazon or ships and sold from Amazon, it's coming directly from an Amazon warehouse, and that's the case with these files. So the first one that I got came directly from Amazon, which means an Amazon employee in a warehouse selected one at random, threw it in a box, and shipped it to me. Same with this one, it came direct from Amazon. So I know for a fact that this is a sample product just like the ones that you guys are going to be getting. Now, I don't know how hit and miss the quality control is on these, just know that I'm getting the same one at random as you guys would be getting. Okay, now let's take a closer look. Okay, so here we have the old Baroque file versus the new version. You see the old version is easily identifiable because it has more of a hexagon type of shape. You can see I wrote that arrow right there just so I remember which side that I'm using at the moment. So we've got nice flat smooth surfaces right here, and then in between you have your different size grooves. So this is your wide 3mm, that's your 1mm, and that's your 2mm, okay? On this one, the new version, it's easily to identify because it is a round shape. And again, see my little arrow right there. So it's very rounded. So the sides, instead of being flat in the middle, are rounded right there. And then you've got your, that's your 3, your 1, and your 2. So first thing right off the bat that I noticed is, and this is totally not important at all, the grooves are actually opposite. So like if this is the 1mm side, then to turn to the 2mm side, you actually rotate in opposite direction, and then on the 3mm side. Now it appears that maybe this new version doesn't quite line up with the same measurements. So these are probably maybe a 0.5 millimeter wider than the old version for whatever reason. The biggest difference, and this is the issue that you guys are having with these, is that this is the old version. You can see that the grooves are milled quite a bit deeper than the new version. The new version still has the same radius, well, maybe just a little bit wider radius, still has the same DLC coating in the middle that acts as the file. But the difference is this one goes quite a bit deeper than this one. So is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, let's find out in actual practice. So here I've got a really flattened out fret from my latest fret leveling job. This is the Les Paul kit that I'm working on, the one that I got from TomTop. And I'm down here on the tiny frets, and I like to take off quite a bit above the 12th fret just so that I can get a nice taper as you go down the fretboard. It makes for a much lower and easier playable action. So, but that does mean that you really have to crown the heck out of these upper frets here at the very top of the neck, well, bottom of the neck, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, so I went ahead and marked the flat part with black marker so that I can know if I'm taking anything off the top or not. And so I've used this one, this is the old version. I've used it on about 10 necks now, and it is only just barely starting to show minimal signs of wear, just on this one side, because it's the only side that I am using, this 2mm side. I haven't done anything with jumbo frets yet, but so far it seems to really be holding up. So I went ahead and marked which side is the same comparable side on this one, and let's go ahead and see if we, when we use this, I know you guys are concerned that because this is shallower, you guys said that it's taking off from the top of the fret. So I want to remind you guys that this step is to be done after you've leveled your frets, which means what you're doing is you're crowning frets back into a dome shape that have been flattened out. You're not supposed to be doing this on dome-shaped frets. So if the frets are already dome-shaped, of course you're going to be taking material off the top. But if they're flattened out like this, then in theory you shouldn't if the fret file is doing its job. So let's go ahead and try it. And I'm doing this behind a camera tripod, so forgive me if I look like an idiot. So I can already tell you, can't get a good angle, can't really see it. Okay. So, actually looks like I did a nice, really slim line, and that was really easy. Now this thing is brand new, so it's a little more productive than I'm used to for this one. This one I usually have to file several times. As you can see, that one I probably just did 2 or 3 passes. And let's see, does it look like a dome? It really does. Let me see if I can get it close enough for you guys to see. But look at that, it is a dome shape. And look closely, the thin line goes all the way across, so I didn't actually take any material off the top. So, it worked. It was very productive. I'm wondering now if the reason why these grooves are deeper and these are not as deep, I think when they redesigned it, maybe they're trying to prevent you from scratching up your fretboard. So obviously I tape it off because I want to prevent scratching up the fretboard as I'm doing this, but in theory, if the groove is still an arch shape, then it's still going to crown it into a dome shape, but if it's not as deep, then it's not going to be hanging off the sides of the fret as much, so that's less contact potentially with the fretboard. So I'm going to go ahead and try this on another fret to see. I don't know if that was the greatest demonstration or not. Close look. I do have a very thin line. This one, like I said, it wasn't quite as flat as the other one, so I did have to be careful not to take off too much. I'm also going to get a different angle for myself because trying to do this around the tripod is not super helpful. Let's go ahead and try this one more time. So again, I was able to get a nice slim line all the way across. I can definitely tell that this one takes a little bit more finesse than this one. So I think maybe the grooves are not, because they're a bit wider, they're not doing quite as good a job at crowning. It is making it a much wider dome, as opposed to the old one was probably something more like this, and now this is probably something more like this. So it takes less passes, which probably means that it's going to last you a lot longer. We'll have to just see. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like it still works. I may actually even, let's try another fret, and I'm going to step it down to the 1mm side and see if maybe it gets us a taller, more aggressive dome shape. This one might not be a good example because, again, it didn't have a whole lot taken off of it. So let's go ahead and do this really small one right here. So this one's not even hugging the side of the fret, so you can't really use that side. So you do have to use the medium side. So this one, again, this fret didn't need a whole lot of work. It was really just the middle there that kind of needs it. So you can see I did knock off some of the top over on this side because I didn't really take anything off over there. It was really just this middle part that I'm trying to crown. And for some reason, it is a bit more difficult with this one. So I have to say, I don't like the new one as much as I like the old one. It seems to be working, but for some reason I feel like I have much more control and stability with this one. This one just kind of requires a little bit more finesse. So it does work. If you guys have this file, I would just continue to use it. I'm gonna go ahead and give my feedback of this file back to the Amazon seller and see what they say. I'm gonna tell them that I do like the rounded edges, but they do need to have the deeper grooves for the files, I think, in order for this thing to be effective. So I'm gonna go ahead and give the feedback, and if I hear anything back before I post this video, I'll be sure to give you guys an update. So I literally just told you guys that I was going to email the seller to see what she said about the new version and my criticisms for it. And so I thought I'd just type off that email really quick while I finished working on this neck. And before I even finished working on this neck, I actually already got a response back from her. So I'll just read you real quick what I wrote and her response. So I said, "Hey Megan," Megan is her name, "I tested the file today. It works, but not as good as the first version you sent me. The problem is that the grooves for the files are not as deep. I was able to crown the fret properly, but it took a lot more care and precision. The old design worked much better. If you stick with this new design, try to have the factory make those file grooves deeper. If that's not possible, then maybe you should lower the price to 19 bucks. Just trying to help you guys out there." And she wrote back and she said, "Hi Dan, happy Thanksgiving." So yeah, today is Thanksgiving Day, by the way. So I'm shocked because she's in China, so I didn't think that she was gonna respond until tomorrow, but she went ahead and hit me back this morning. So, "Hi Dan, happy Thanksgiving. Thanks for your suggestions. It is very helpful. We will tell this to the manufacturers so they can make improvement. Hope you have a wonderful day today. Thank you, Megan." So, just want you guys to know I've got your back, and I want you to know too that this Amazon seller is listening. And the fact that she was willing to send me the new version to get my input, and then she's willing to accept that input and talk to the manufacturer on our behalf, I think is pretty cool.